What's up fam, this is Anvita Dixit and today we're going to be understanding Patanjali Yoga Sutra 1.4. Now last week we understood Patanjali Yoga Sutra 1.3, which is directly related to this particular sutra. So if you haven't already watched that video, I would really recommend that you go in order and watch those previous videos about Patanjali Yoga Sutras so that you have a better understanding of this one. So Sutra 1.4 states, Vritti Sarupya Mitratra. Now what this breaks down into is Vritti, which is the modification of the mind or considered a thought wave, Sarupya, which means identification with, and Mitratra means at other times. So Vritti Sarupya Mitratra. Now what this loosely translates into in English is that when the Alright, now you really need to have watched the previous video to understand this. But basically, two basic concepts, spiritual energy and physical matter that make up humans. Now, this, which is also known as Purusha, which is spiritual matter, and Prakriti, which is the physical matter. Now, at most times, we tend to identify ourselves with the evolutes of physical matter. So let's say there's a particular thought that I'm having. Let's say the fact that I'm feeling angry at something. You start to identify yourself with the emotion of anger and you operate only from there. But what yoga is trying to explain to us is that although anger is an emotion and a thought wave, and in that sense it's a change of the chitta, that is the meeting point of the physical and spiritual energy, we're not actually bound to identify with this anger or this change in our consciousness. Patanjali explains that we actually are Purusha, which is immutable, unchangeable spiritual energy that has no identification as such with a thought wave or an emotion. It is immortal and immutable. Therefore, what the aim of yoga is to be able to understand that, okay, these thought waves and these emotions that I'm feeling are on the surface, they're there, they're present. We're not saying that they're not there, but let's become conscious of them and let's observe them as a witness instead of identifying completely with them and saying, oh my God, I'm angry, like I'm really, really pissed off, and completely going in sync with that emotion. Instead of doing that, we have to take a step back and be like, okay, this is the emotion I'm feeling, but how can I harness my understanding of it? How can I take a step back and be like, okay, this is what I'm feeling, but here's what the actual deal is. So the whole point is to understand who you are, to become more self-aware, to know that these changes in the chitta or the vritti are happening, and yet there's something or there's a witness principle inside you that is actually not undergoing any such change, and that emotion is just an illusion and we still need to witness it but not get entangled in it. So that's the key point of this sutra, and that's why he explains that at other times, which means the times in which you are completely identifying with your thought waves and you're completely thinking you are the thought and the thought is you, at those times you're identifying completely with the thought wave and only remaining enmeshed in it. But yoga implores us to take a witness position and not only get entangled in that emotion, but to rise above it and gain control over it. So what we want to do eventually is understand the different emotions and changes that we have and be able to tap into them when we wish to, instead of it being like they are controlling us or the emotion controls us. Instead, we are self-aware. We know we have these reservoirs of this type of emotion or that type of thought wave, and we bring that into play when we need to bring it into play. So that's called gaining control over yourself, over your senses, and also beginning to understand that there is indeed spiritual energy and physical matter that you're composed of, and becoming aware of that immutable spiritual energy known as Purusha is of extreme importance. So that is basically Patanjali Yoga Sutra 1.4, again known as Vritti Sarupya Mitratra, which means that at the times that you identify with the thought waves, you are completely identifying as the thought and not as the spiritual energy that you truly are. So that is the Patanjali Yoga Sutra 1.4. I hope it's helped you to understand this concept better. Apart from this, I will now see you on Saturday with a Self-Help Saturday video. So until then, take care of yourselves and also keep blasting.